Talk about Grief Share, my brother.
Yes, they're meeting every Wednesday at One Church Covenant Fellowship, 918 Person Street here in Fayetteville. You can call the church. You have any questions, 910-323-8889. Now, that's Wednesday session, lasts from 10 to 11:30.
Right.
And then online, they have a session on Saturdays from 9 to 10:30. So call the church so you can get information if you're interested in that. If you want to drop in, just see what it's like. We recommend all churches ought to have that program. It's worth having. Helps so many people.
And if you are by yourself more times than you need to be, or alone, please get out, get involved, call someone, talk to someone, get out and help someone else, because the enemy would love for you to look not at life, but at a grave. We don't want you to do that. You're too young. You got too much to offer. Don't leave anything undone. That's what we're pushing now. Nothing undone. What God called us to do, let's leave here empty. 3 topics today. Teen takeover in Raleigh. What did we learn from that? As well as the role of the church during perilous times. We're going to look at some past, present, and possible future places that the church will be, should be helping and enrolled in, involved in. Finally, why a school system can sell the property for $1, and then some of the things that we know about around here. If we have time, we got to do a Tammy Did You Know? Plus, we got a health tip that's coming in from Dr. Nita Kapoor. She'll be calling in about 10:30-ish. So get ready for that as well. So a lot to do in this fast hour of 10 to 11 a.m. on Fridays. So we're going to push it all in there. And of course, coming up behind us are our good partners in information and inspiration, MP1, MP2, and MP3. But let's begin, gents, with this teen takeover in Raleigh. I found it interesting to some of the reports of how many. One report said 5,000, another one said 8,000 people, up to 8,000 people are gathered during the July 4th celebration in the Glenwood South area, where teens and young adults, according to Mayor Janet Cole, that all kinds of violence broke out. Shots fired, and I got some of the information on that from the police chief, Rico Boyce, was sharing with some things, ideas, and some options that were out there. So let's kind of look at this. The teen takeover, we know it was part of a social media connection that brought this idea on. And we've seen this in the past before, teens, social media, and they'll get on that social media and say, we're going to meet at the mall. And they do their things. They get out there and they just take over. So what are we seeing in this? And maybe you can give us some insight on what we could do about it.
Well, we're going to have to do a much better job of monitoring the youth of our nation. It's a sad day when the only entertainment they can find is to gather in large groups for nefarious purposes, and just literally to do nothing other than to destroy property. This is a growing trend, unfortunately, across America, especially in urban areas where teenagers are gathering in large groups. These are planned events.
Exactly.
But not organized
Right.
events. If they're organized, they're not organized for any positive purpose.
Yeah. And I agree with Brother Tony, and I look back at the parents. What is a juvenile doing out at 1:30 in the morning, and parents don't know where they are? And then the weapons, the police chief at Raleigh said we were handling the crowd, but then they start pulling all those weapons that these young people have in their possession. That's the scary part. And then I hear that other cities are having this kind of issue that's getting ready to take place.
The copycat is one of the things we're concerned about too. That piece there, because once they see it, there's not a lot of information showing about the number of people who've been arrested, some of the reprehensive consequences attached to that, or even that they had to, say, for instance, rehabilitation with somebody. Someone got hurt and they had to serve that. So all they see is, wow, the good side of it. Let's do it in another place. So now we're talking about shots fired and at 1:34 a.m., 2:05 a.m., 2:30 a.m., and 3:26. Like you're saying, here's a 13-year-old or 15-year-old out there at that time in the morning. Where are the parents? Who let them out for that length of time? So we got a lot of things that we need to look at on that. And of course, hopefully and prayerfully, that as I listen to some of the things they're planning, curfews are really good. I think that helps. However, they always find a way around that.
Yeah.
We got to look at some other things as well. You mentioned something, Coach, about not only monitoring more so, and it was mentioned in one of the ways we can help out is making sure that we have community leaders and parents, law enforcement working together and share the responsibility of what we are seeing happening. Because if we don't have things for them to do, jobs for them to get involved in, if we don't have other opportunities, and then making parents, we've got younger and younger parents, that's another story all by itself. Having parents, being parents at 13, 14 years old, and now you're looking at a child, you're 20-some year old, and you got a 14-year-old. Okay, how do you parent, the skills of parenting as well?
Yeah. You know, some of these individuals in some of these areas have been as young as 8 and 9 years old, out after midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, with no parental supervision whatsoever. The proliferation of firearms, particularly handguns in America, has become, I have to say astronomical. It's so easy for an individual to get a weapon, and I'm not opposed to Second Amendment rights, people exercising their right. I'm one who feels that you should have that opportunity to do so. But we've got to do something about Chief Boyce from Raleigh mentioned that he's chasing an individual. He had to run down a young teenager after the teenager realized he was law enforcement, and then when he got to the young person had a gun. And then cried, "Please don't shoot me, sir." Why would an individual who's 14 or 15 years old need or feel the need to have to carry a firearm?
So we're back to this important theme, and that is the frontal lobes don't even develop until a person is 25 years old. So whatever you're doing it from emotions and from the thrill you get from your limbic system to start doing something. So when we got young people, and another thing that Chief Boyce mentioned was these backpacks. We got to get rid of those backpack situation.
It's unfortunate. I was writing it down as you were talking that we're forcing government to legislate parenting. They're going to have to come up with something. Now you're going to have school-age children who possibly have the need to carry a backpack, may not have that opportunity or the privilege to do so simply because people are doing nefarious things when they do have them.
You know, in this situation here in Raleigh, 29 young adults, 18 and older, seized 11 firearms. They arrested 29 young adults, 18 and older, and seized 11 firearms and filed 3 juvenile petitions. So, you know, like I say, why the kids out there? And then you got 18-year-old involved with these young kids, which makes it even worse, you know. And then they Raleigh said a lot of these kids were not even from the area. They just got word, and everybody's going there.
That's an awesome point to bring up with the advent of social media and the ability for people to communicate from various distances. Of those 5,000 to 8,000 people, as you say, many of them did not even reside in Raleigh. They came from other areas. Dr. John mentioned copycat.
Yeah.
More communities need to be aware. North Carolina is notorious for being a copycat state. Fayetteville notorious for being a city that tends to copy cat things. So we've got to be aware. We've got to come up with some preventive measures, and we've got to find other things for young people to do. And we're going to get to perilous times because what entertainment is there in going to a shopping mall or area and just destroying property? Some of these, I think in Chicago, Trader Joe's was overrun by a mob of teenagers. There was several department stores where teenagers and young adults just went into the store and ravaged the store, took everything in there out.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And this is why when we start looking at what you're saying about the gathering, there's two things there. You've got the power to gather people. For instance, in Briar Creek Commons, the shopping center, there was teens, 3,000 that came there. And then as they were told them to move to another, they had to break it up, then they started becoming more violent, and then the crowds grew. So gathering them, the power of social media is to gather. But then who has the right to say we're organizing it? Who is responsible for organizing this to make sure that it is safe?
Yeah.
And that's, if people can gather and you are responsible for that, then you got to be the one to say, here's what we organized to do. Step 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
To guarantee or to say, you can't really guarantee anything. I'm like Michael Jordan. I can't guarantee anything.
Yeah.
But at least we put some safety factors in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It puts people who are going out for a family affair, wholesome family activity, it puts them in jeopardy. Many of the people who I think had gone to the Briar Creek area had gone there for fireworks display.
Exactly.
And then they got caught in the middle of this shooting where 9 people were injured. Bullets don't have a name.
Whosoever will.
Even if you're aiming.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
And they said they first was planning to meet at one place, but the police got on top of that and made them move away. And then that's how they end up at the next place all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how they can get together that quick. And you have something good, everybody don't know nothing about it.
Yeah, one Charlotte newspaper reported, though, that they had multiple locations planned.
Okay.
These individuals that went on social media had multiple locations. Briar Creek was just one of those areas, even though people came from other areas to Briar Creek.
Yeah, another point here is, as we talk about, there were some areas that I was looking at, they were saying that they didn't want anybody to assume that this is who we are. Because of the number of incidents of young people doing what they're doing. However, someone has to take responsibility, and that's where the prevention comes up for the Fayettevilles and the Charlottes and whomever's next, to realize, okay, that was an occasion for 4th of July celebration. It should have been.
Yeah.
But here we've got Festival Park, and we want to be able to come down there and enjoy some activities.
Yeah.
But we need to also be aware of parenting skills. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a responsibility here that we all got to pay attention to, not only with the parents, but those of us in our community. I know I'm going old school, but I got to. We were raised by not just our parents, but our grandparents, our uncles, our neighbors, deacons in the church. Everybody had an eye on you, and you knew that there was a guard of protection. But now it's almost like we turned the farm over to the animals, and the children have more rights than the adults.
Yeah.
You earlier mentioned curfew, and I'll be honest. Previously, I had been an opponent of curfews, but I'm gradually being drawn into the idea that maybe something needs to be done, and curfew might be one of those things. But I bring up this point that many of these teenagers and young people that are showing up. I mentioned one particular situation might be 8 or 9 years old. These teenagers don't all have access to automobiles. So somebody that's 18 years or older,
Yeah.
It's giving
meaning a young adult, is getting these people
That's right.
to these locations
Yeah.
and sitting back and either watching or participating and finding some enjoyment in watching these people cut up.
I know it.
And another concern I have is if we don't start doing something ourselves, what are we saying about hiring so many police and putting people out there that all of a sudden we've become a Gestapo mentality controlling from the wrong end? I call it the wrong end because we're supposed to be law enforcement public servants. But when we start becoming, it's kind of like what the school system did in the beginning. What we started off with, just bring your kids to us. We're now in charge. We'll raise them.
Yeah.
And until we start realizing we can't do it by ourselves.
We need your
We
help.
need everybody to work together. And that is where the other piece of the puzzle, I think, is important for us to recognize. Raleigh will remain a safe place. Eventually, we'll figure it out if we work together. But if we become territorial, then we're going to always have a problem with the next level of young people.
Yeah, and Raleigh is a good example that these gatherings definitely cross racial, cultural, and economic lines.
Young people can do that. I mean, they don't care whether you're black, white, rich, or poor. If they get on social media and get an us and them mentality, we're going to stick together. It's hard to pull against that.
You know, and like we say, I know it goes back to good parenting, and I'm like, Tony, I kind of didn't know about this curfew thing at first, but if parents not doing their job, then and like you say, you don't want the government to become, that's when they get too much power.
We're almost forcing their hand to become Gestapo-like.
Yeah, and then they be like just knocking people over and not asking no questions. Some guy they got an emergency, mama sick, trying to get to the doctor to get some medicine, and all of a sudden, I mean, you can have some bad things happen when they get that part. So we need our parents to step up, know where your kids are, and know what they're involved in, and you could see some of the stuff, know what they got on them, and what they have access to.
Dr. W.G. Brown, you used to say this years ago when we were talking about they were thinking about bringing in some metal detectors. He said, "You are the metal detector. Every morning you see your child hug them from their shoulders down. You can find out what's going on." But part of that is maybe even with the curfews, if it's temporary. Nothing should be permanent. We don't want to make a permanent situation out of something that should be temporary until we can get a handle on which way are we going with parenting, with working with media, all of us working together. Somewhere, someone's got to be responsible for opening up an opportunity for media to have this freedom to do this, but someone's got to be responsible to say, okay, if I see that many people hitting, then we might need to let some other people know. Law enforcement know. We got 10,000 hits. All of a sudden, it's going in this direction for something that is gathering but not organized, and that's a key point here. The gathering must be organized, or maybe some permit to do it.
And if you're a parent and you're giving your child an electronic device without monitoring that device,
that's another good one.
You're creating
a monster.
A monster.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
they got so many parental controls, and you can get on there and see what they've been. You can look in their history. If you can't, you get somebody that get one of the other grandchildren. Bring that computer in and show me what they've been doing.
And get your children involved in positive things.
That's good.
I had to tell the church one Sunday, and I repented for it, but if you have a child living under your roof and you're not taking that child to church, or you're not concerned about that child's spiritual upbringing, you're writing a bus ticket for that child to hell, and you are the bus driver.
That's a good point. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't repent over that one. I think
That's
we need
the truth.
Yeah, we need to be aware of that. Aiding and abetting for this child to wind up in some trouble, one way or the other, and even parents who do a good job with raising their children. Kids make choices. Okay, but at least they know.
Yeah.
I was not raised that way.
That's it.
Train up a child
In the way they should.
Yeah. Put prayer on it and believe they'll come back to it.
And they will.
Yeah.
They will.
And
Chapter 15.
Yeah.
that's what we are. We're going to do some more words here in a moment. I thought Dr. Kapoor was going to be calling by this time, but I'm going to have to text her to remind her you're supposed to be on. But in the meantime, let's do a Did You Know so that we can start with some good points here, okay?
All right.
What you got there?
And Tammy will like this. Did you know that the human skin has lines and unique swirls called Blasco lines, and these swirls are invisible to the naked eye, but they are there, and they're unique to every human being.
Okay,
You know, and people try to copy that by putting tattoos on their body, and God has already done it.
He's already tattooed our body. Isn't that something? That's amazing.
Tammy might like this. In Korea, apples are sometimes grown in cube-shaped molds to make packing them easier. The resulting fruit is square, making it easier to stack.
A square apple.
A square apple. So if you see a square apple, you know it came from Korea.
Yeah.
Well, I got another square thing for you that's not as cute. The world's strangest poop. There's a wombat. The wombat is the only animal known that poops in a perfect cube. Its intestinal walls can stretch and contract in a different elastical level, and it makes it an architectural marvel to poop in a square cube. Okay, so you might eat a square apple, but I promise you will not poop in a square cube.
Only that animal do that.
Only wombats.
Only wombats.
Can do
I'm
that.
glad I didn't have that jar to watch you see.
And how can we ignore the existence of an almighty God?
Almighty God.
It is every time. We got Dr. Nita Kapoor online with us from Devoted Family Care, 1440 Fern Creek Drive, Suite 501 in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Good morning, neighbor.
Good morning to you all. And, I was asking John about what we should be talking about.
Yes.
And he mentioned heat, especially with the heat index being as high as it is. So I thought I'd give some health tips on how to stay cool and safe in this heated environment.
Okay.
Now, we're going to talk a minute about cooling zones in the body. So we sometimes think that if we're outside in the heat and we're getting really hot, we should come and we should splash cool water on our face. But if we start to feel overheated, there's actually some places in the body that have more blood flow to them on the surface of the skin that if we put a cool cloth, they actually help to cool us down a little bit quicker. The wrist, forearms, neck, and the back of the knee actually have large blood vessels close to the surface of the skin. So if blood passes through these cooler areas and then it circulates that blood through the body, it can actually help lower our body temperature a little bit more efficiently than just splashing water on our face. So it's the wrist, the forearms, the neck, and even the back of the knees. Just a cool washcloth. Another thing that we have to remember is to pre-hydrate. And we've often heard this said that once you're thirsty, you are already falling behind in the amount of water and hydration your body needs. So maybe drinking just 16 ounces at a time, an hour before we work outside, and continue to sip regularly throughout the day. People often think that we don't understand that humidity is often more dangerous than the temperature itself. So when the temperature is hot without humidity, we can sweat. And sweat is a wonderful way for our body to cool off. But when the humidity is high, an 88-degree day can actually feel more like 100 degrees for our body. So it's important to sort of pay attention to how humid it is, because remember, it will feel hotter for our system because our body won't be able to cool itself down as efficiently.
Okay.
Now, we talked about the thirst and it indicating, okay, we're already behind on our hydration status. But of course, one thing that we can also look at is our fluid output, and that is our urine. So even if we thought we've drank enough water, but we go to the bathroom and the urine is concentrated, it's a dark yellow instead of a pale yellow, which is what we're aiming for. It's telling us that the body is sucking in and keeping in as much fluid as it can, so it's concentrating out the urine. It's trying to keep most of the fluid for ourselves, and it doesn't want to let that go. That tells us, again, that we are behind on our hydration status. So, a few other things to keep in mind is medications in this heat can also increase your risk of heat issues. Common ones are diuretics, like hydrochlorothiazide and Lasix, that we take for our blood pressure, antihistamines, stimulants, some antidepressants as well. So all these medicines can impair our body's ability to regulate our own temperature. When we think about the very young and the more senior, sometimes the buffer, and oftentimes the buffer for them to be outside, is very small. And this past weekend, actually July 4th, a number of my patients had issues. One or two of them were admitted into the emergency room because of heat issues. So keep a buddy system. Heat stroke, especially in the elderly, can often cause confusion, and the elderly themselves may not realize they're in trouble. So having a buddy system when you're out in the heat can actually save a life. Eating to cool yourself down. Watermelons, cucumbers, peaches, tomatoes, berries, and citrus fruit are great. They have like a 90% water content, but you're going to get your electrolytes and you're going to be replacing your potassium that is lost through your sweat. Remember, your sweat is salty. It's not just pure water. Taking a cooling break, scheduled. If you have to absolutely be out between 10 and 4 or 10 and 5, then the idea is just take a break. Just put it on your watch, put it on your phone, put it on a timer, and take a break before you feel like you need a break. And so even with healthy people, mild dehydration can affect our concentration and affect our reaction time. So again, when we're driving, which is when we need to be reacting very quickly, it can even affect that. Okay, so we might be making poor decisions when we're driving because we think we're fine, but we're not. So also to remember that the heat can affect our muscles, and our brain is one of those important muscles that keeps our reaction time, our cognition, and our focus where it should be. So quite a lengthy health tip, but given that we're in North Carolina and this heat is going to be around for a few months, I thought we'd make it a little bit more detailed.
Doctor, this is so important, and thank you so much for giving us all these tips. And so, please, we'll probably want to do something similar to this next month. August is no joke as well. So hang around, keep it coming, and we'll make sure that our neighbors and friends are aware of that, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everybody stay safe and stay cool.
All right. You're my buddy in system too, so make sure when you see me outdoors, ask me, John. Okay. All right. Love you. Take care. All right. Bye-bye. That's Dr. Nita Kapoor from Devoted Family Care, 1440 Fern Creek Drive, Suite 501 in Fayetteville. You need to contact her, even if you don't have insurance. Call her, talk with her. They have an incredible way of helping people walk through some of these mazes of medical help. They can get through a lot of it, all the quagmire. You can get past that if you talk with her. The number is 910-302-6529. That's 910-302-6529.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And I have recently become a patient of Dr. Kapoor, and I can tell you she is thorough when it comes to your care and your examination, and everything she tells you is backed by medical science and some other things.
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
I appreciate them, and having that kind of neighbor. I got a couple of fine folk around there. They have gardens, and they bring me cucumbers and tomatoes out their garden. My wife makes a nice salad. I'm saying, that's how you do it, man. Save that money. Eat out of that garden. Listen, we want to talk about several more things in the few minutes we have left. One of them is the role of the church during perilous times, and where we need to be as far as the church. Now, I want to define perilous first and foremost according to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. We're going to take the risk of sounding like preachers because that's what we are, okay? Mm-hmm. But it refers to a spiritually dangerous, stressful, turbulent period. The word itself comes from, it's translated fierce, and it means hard to deal with, or strength zapping situation. So perilous, what is it that zaps our strength? What is it that's hard to deal with? And right now, moral decay, intense selfishness, hostility, we're seeing a lot of that division coming up now. Now, if we look back, and I want to bring this to a point where we can talk about it specifically. If you look back at the church, it was always involved in American history with revivals, and right behind something that was catastrophic. The Great Depression is one. And then in 1929, 10 years, I didn't realize it was that long, 10 years, 1929 through 1939, the end of the market dropped out. But the church was there offering storehouses for food and jobs and even direct welfare. In every war, people were coming to the church or looking for the church, and they were doing things that would help people survive through this time physically, socially, emotionally, and spiritually. These are the things. And then, of course, if you are old enough, about 25 years ago, coming up in September, the church stood strong in September the 11th, 2001, when we had the attack on the World Trade Center, and people were coming to church then. Right now, we have to go back to be honest, there was a great divide in our country when it came to slavery, how some churches felt about it, how some organizations felt about it, civil rights, and then also the continuous fall up and down of clergy trust, with so many of them not being right when it came to children. And we're finding that there were a lot of situations where people were being used, children being abused, and that was an issue. However, we want to talk about where we ought to be standing in a time like this, with this time we have this. So, gents, let's kind of open this up. And, of course, we would love to hear from you as well. It's going to be controversial. We know that. And we're talking about the church holistically. And this is no disrespect at all. I want to make this, you understand. I work with a lot of good churches, and they're doing feeding programs. They're doing, like we're talking about, grief share. They've created jobs, created businesses. They're doing as much as they can with what they have. But we're talking holistically, where is the church during perilous times? Okay.
Wow. I wish we had a lot of time to really spend on this. 2 Timothy 3, verses 1 through 7. It tells us, gives us a litany of things to watch for. The lines have been blurred, in my opinion. The church no longer has the separation from the world that it had when I was younger. When I was younger, it didn't make a difference whether the denomination was Baptist, Episcopalian, or whatever. All churches had a form of holiness, and they had a standard. Now we see some forms of outward separation, but in other religions, Muslims, they separate themselves by simply by the way they dress. We don't see that much in our churches anymore. Things of the world have crept into the church so that the lines have become distorted. You can't tell the church world from the secular world.
And I'm reading this article, and he's saying that the advice for perilous times: follow the model of the faithful, stay with the truth of the Bible.
Yes.
Proclaim the message of Christ, maintain an exemplary life.
If we go back to Genesis, the very principle of Genesis tells us that God had already set up a standard for Adam, male and female. Just look at it. He told them what to do and what not to do. He told them when to meet him and when he was going to be there. He gave them parameters, and what happens? This other entity, this other voice, and let's listen to another voice, comes in and now questions what God has said.
Come on, sir.
Okay, once something starts to question your foundation that God has given you, and that's what we have now. Other folk out here talking about rewriting a new Bible, or dragging this one into the 21st century, that kind of mentality. When the church has got to stand firm, we see it then, we see it every time that Israel started doing something and God told them, when I brought you out of Egypt, don't take on the habits, the form, the ideas, or whatever you see these other folk doing.
That's right.
I've created in you a specific way to handle things. So in a perilous time, we've got to be that rock standing on Christ and being the example. And part of that example is, I'm a Matthew 25 guy,
Yes,
kind
sir,
of guy.
please.
Matthew 25. He tells us what we ought to be doing. And what we're seeing with our government and senators and all those, Supreme Court, they are not doing Matthew 25.
I like what Dr. Ron was saying about preaching the truth of the gospel. Verse 7 tells us we're ever learning, but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. When we ate from that tree in the garden, learning good, and evil, we got that knowledge without the wisdom and understanding of God, because as you said, God met us every day to teach man,
Right.
This is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to do it, how long I want you to do it. Now we have our own reasoning, our own ability, and it's zapping our strength.
That's what the pull of perilous time does. Zap the strength.
Yeah. That's one of the meanings of perilous, strength reducing time.
Yes.
People that used to be strong are not strong anymore. This writer here put 5 things out I thought were very clear. Be strong in the faith and love.
Okay.
Declare God's word. Live your joyful life. Proclaim Jesus. Speak and pray out your future.
So my question is, when did being a pastor, being an evangelist, become popular?
Yeah.
Biblically, they didn't want to see a prophet coming.
No.
When they were running their shows the way they wanted.
it, yeah.
You didn't want Jeremiah. you didn't want Nathan facing David. You didn't want to hear what they had to say, because they were going to, and they had God's backing behind it too. So somewhere we have taken something that should have been more of a clear yes or no, black and white. And like you said, I think blurred the lines and made something popular so we can win everybody. There's something about the human nature that does not fall in line when you start to give it the possibility of having its way.
I'm
The
glad
flesh
you said
won't
what you
do
said
it.
about the prophet, because we've gotten to the point now that prophecy has almost become like an office or skill, and everybody wants to do it.
Yeah.
My understanding of prophecy is that you're saying the word of God. Ahab told him, "Say no, don't let him show up, because he's not going to say anything.
Nothing good. He won't say anything good.
He gonna say what God said, and I don't want to hear that." And we've gotten to that point that we're not saying the word of God. I mean, I understand words of knowledge, and God does reveal certain things, but I don't need to know what's going to happen 5 years from now. I'm having enough trouble dealing with today.
The point for us, for me personally, is as a leader, you got to be responsible for calling it as it is.
Come on, sir.
And standing firm on biblical principles, even at the point of it costing you your job, your life, whatever conveniences that we have. If you are going to be called to carry the gospel of Jesus Christ, now I'm not saying everything's will be negative. I'm not saying it at all. But if you're working it, as one of my spiritual leaders taught me, it's not what you talk, it's how you walk. When you want people to change, let them see you walk. As one preacher said, I'd rather see one sermon walked than 25 talked.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. Too many nice sounding things, and we're not truly doing the work and speaking it clearly.
Yeah, we're preaching to itching ears, and we're starting to say things that will tickle people's fancy. I go back to verse 4 in 2 Timothy 3, that we become lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Well, it's so much. So what we are saying to all of us, if indeed, all of you are listening, if indeed that we are going to be that church that stood even during the times of world wars and during the Depression, and being able to support others, we have to be able to hear God's voice now for what he's telling us to do individually, because we are, first of all, spirits with a soul in a body. I'm working on a point right now called, are you spirit-led or flesh-driven? And when you are flesh-driven, you can never satisfy it. No matter what you get, it always wants more and more. It does not. That's why your stomach keeps growing. There's no limit to it. It'll start poking out, because the more you feed it, the more it gets. No disrespect to anybody. The more it grows with that. So the same thing with the flesh. It shows us if we keep feeding it. Now, if we are spirit-minded, which means we are prayerful, we reverence God, we worship, it means that we are those people who recognize by faith is how we walk. Then we start driving, being led that way, and controlling the outside issues, and limiting the flesh and all those desires. So,
and thank you for reminding me. I'm going to be in Matthew 25 today, and I'm going to get my wick trimmed and my lamp full.
I mean, he said, I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me.
Yeah.
I was in prison, you came to see me. I was hungry, you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me the drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. If we are not doing that as a church, the world's not supposed to be there. We are supposed to be there. Now, we're supposed to remind them that they're seeing our example, and they're supposed to start using funds and passing laws to make sure that that's happening to all of our citizens. And then what happens is, now we're calling the hand of God to move for us as a nation and a people, because God said, now you're doing what I tell you to do. I'm going to back that up. That's my word. But when you start doing just the opposite, you're saying, I don't need God. We got Ahabs and Jezebels running the countries and saying, no, we're going to do it our way. And that's why we get into the quagmire and all of the negative consequences that we're in right now. Boy, I wish we had more time to talk about the last one selling a school for $1. We only have a couple of minutes, and I hate to even talk about this today on it, but we do know it's legal. It's entirely legal to do so in North Carolina. We know that was one of the things that came up. So if you want to take a moment to talk about it, let's go for it.
Not only legal, it's required by state law for the school board or the school system to offer those properties to the county. And so to make the transaction legal, we'll sell it to you for $1. What many of us as citizens don't realize, to upkeep and care for those properties, if they're just sitting there, or even if they're in use, they're so old that it's probably costing the school system, the county, and everybody else more money than the property is worth.
Yeah.
I was looking at this. There was an independent company called MGT, Trusted Advisors for Social Impact Solutions. They came to Cumberland County and they assessed all 85 schools based on the building condition, the capacity, operating costs. When they finished, they projected they would cost over $800 million to repair the schools that needed to be repaired. Many of our schools got a 70 or below rating, which means major needs. And they were showing that if you close certain schools, you can save $31 million or deferred repairs. So I think is that Matthew Johnson is the manager of facilities for Cumberland County Schools. And so by being the executive director of operations, his role is to make sure that facilities and planning, construction, maintenance department, all those things are under him, which means every so often you have to go through and look at not only the buildings, how is that building being properly used, not used, how much it costs you, et cetera, all those things, the growth. In other words, you got to be in contact with everybody. Any children coming in, being born, not the numbers of children going down.
All those facts.
All those factors got to be involved in making some choices. So we may have been behind the 8 ball in the beginning. Because we're not having as many children born, not many marriages as we used to have. So we got to see, okay, do we need all these buildings?
Yeah, I mean, you got a school with 200 kids. And the school down the road got 200 kids. And the one building could hold 400 kids.
Easily.
I mean, but parents get and us older folk get all caught up into the name of the school and my neighborhood taking away my school, and we miss the whole point.
And let's face it, community schools no longer exist. That school in your neighborhood that I could walk to down the block.
That day is over.
That day is over.
Because we're not even community minded. We're something we got to work on now anyway. Hey, Tammy, you better come on in here so we can get out of here, because I see MP2 walking the halls like a tagger ready to do his thing. He's ready to get on the line here, and we got to get out of his way along with the other guys. Listen, the only thing that even needs to triumph is good.